The subject of our story comes from one of the most famous families in Azerbaijan. At different moments in Russian history, members of this dynasty played an important role in its scientific and socio-political life. This is reflected in the names of streets in Baku, which were named after members of this ancient noble family whose lineage can be tracked back to 1743. Above all, of course, one cannot fail to mention Nabat Khanum Ashurbeyli, an oil industrialist and patron of the arts who built the Taza Pir Mosque in the early 20th century. Igor Ashurbeyli's paternal grandmother, an honored scholar, doctor of history, professor and author of proeminent scientific research papers, Sara Balabek Kızı Ashurbeyli, was known as a fundamental researcher of medieval Absheron. Igor's father, Rauf Ashurbeyli, devoted himself to science. After getting his PhD degree, he was head of department at the Azerbaijan Institute of Petrochemical Processes. His mother, Yelizaveta Ashurbeyli, maiden name Rezanova, was a meteorology engineer at the Space Research Institute. Remarkably, the parents of our illustrious protagonist grew up in the same Baku neighborhood. The couple got married in 1962. The following year, a boy was born, Igor, who was destined to become an extraordinary individual. The neighborhood kids nicknamed little Igor Professor because of his insatiable thirst for knowledge, his love of reading, and an intellect beyond his age. At school, he studied with honors, regularly attended physics selective classes, got on well with his peers, and participated in hobby groups. In 1980, he graduated from Baku Secondary Special School No. 27 with in-depth English language training and was the only graduate to be awarded a gold medal for academic excellence. The same year, Igor chose the Department of Automation and Production Processes at the Azizbekov Institute of Petrochemistry in Azerbaijan. Later on, studying at the institute was easy for Igor Ashurbeyli, and he attended classes with great pleasure. He became a part-time lab assistant to the chair of Information, Measuring and Computer Engineering, and traveled around the country with the student construction team during summer holidays. After graduating, he worked in the gas industry as part of graduate placement for a time, but since 1988, Ashurbeyli has plunged himself into the world of private enterprise. However, Igor Ashurbeyli did not give up his scientific career either. He continued his postgraduate studies at the Azerbaijan Petrochemical Institute. His works were published in scientific journals. He took part in seminars and conferences, and in 1992 he successfully defended his PhD thesis. In general, it should be mentioned that our protagonist has always been distinguished by the abundance of ideas, passion, and strong organizational skills. The lack of fear of challenges and his ability to think strategically began to bear practical fruit. After starting a business, the young entrepreneur created the Association of Scientific, Manufacturing and Technical Enterprises and the Commodity Exchange in Azerbaijan. In 1990, Ashurbeyli left his residence in Azerbaijan and moved to Russia, settling with his family in Moscow. In 1991, he set up the International Information and Telecommunications Exchange in the Russian capital. One of IITE's aims was to create a single internet space developing a network in Russia. Apparently, the young man was already well aware then that the internet was the future, and his intuition did not let him down, just as it never did in later years. However, Igor Ashur-Bely soon found himself unexpectedly switching from the field of networking to another one, the defense field. In 1994, he was invited to work as the anti-crisis manager of SPA Almaz, one of the most well-known enterprises of the defense industry that was in a state of crisis. Huge debts, few orders, modernization issues, and more. After Igor Ashur-Bely's nomination, the company started to come out of its economic downturn. He developed and successfully implemented a modernization plan. Orders from the Russian state were placed, and in a few years the company turned from a profit-loss enterprise into a profitable one. After that, the talented manager was appointed CEO of JSC Central Design Bureau Almaz. He remained in that position until 2011. For Almaz, the 2000s were a time of great achievement. The favorite anti-air defense system was modified, and new generations of the Triumph surface-to-air missile system were put into service of the Russian air defense forces. Of course, this was the merit of our protagonist. Ashur-Bely is also the creator of the famous S-400 surface-to-air missile system and the man who launched the S-500, Vityaz, Morpheus, and other defense systems. After leaving Almaz, Igor Ashur-Bely continued to develop high-tech products for the defense industry, but now on the basis of companies that were part of his own multi-level Socium holding company. Igor Ashur-Bely became the head of the Independent Expert Council on the Problems of Airspace Defense, which he established in 2003. His area of interest also included publishing and space research. Today, this extraordinary man is still at the helm of Socium, which over the years has grown into a holding company. Igor Ashur-Bely is also well known as a philanthropist. His efforts have led to the restoration of churches and the reconstruction of parks. His son, Ruslan, has become Igor Ashur-Bely's staunch ally in these endeavors. It should be particularly noted that despite the fact that our protagonist has long lived in Russia, he has not lost his ties with his motherland and cherishes the memory of his famous ancestors. At least once a year he returns to Azerbaijan and visits his ancestral graves. For the last 2 years, Igor Ashur-Bely has been implementing a big project in Azerbaijan. It is about a project of a hotel museum in Icheri near Maiden Tower. The project involves opening a hotel museum in one of Baku's historic buildings. It was named Ashur Khan Palace, after the head of the Ashurbekov family, Ashur Khan. The project reflects the history of Azerbaijan and the Ashur-Bely family. Each room of this hotel will be dedicated to a member of the Ashur-Bely dynasty.
Asgardia, первое космическое государство, торжественно зарегистрировали в атмосфере Венского бала.
Российский миллиардер Игорь Ашур-Бely решил пойти дальше и обзавелся целой державой. Новую страну на карте не найти, ее границы проходят за пределами нашей планеты.
In 2016, the world's leading media agencies reported that the Russian scientist Igor Ashur-Bely had launched the unprecedented Asgardia project. It was about an independent space station created for the purposes of the peaceful exploration of space, the use of its resources and capabilities for the benefit of humanity, as well as the protection of the Earth from space threats. As he personally recognized, Ashur-Bely came up with the idea of creating Asgardia in Montreal following an international conference on space law in the summer of 2016. At all times, the best of men have looked up to the stars with hope and dreamed of a new happy world and a new heavenly country, he said in an address to the people of his country. Yes, as strange as it may sound, Ashur-Bely is serious about establishing a colony in space. I want to establish a permanent settlement on the moon and go there during my lifetime. Everything else is recklessness, because it's not even about technology, but rather physiology, he said. Humanity simply cannot live in space radiation conditions.
В первую очередь космос для человечества всегда играл, играет и будет играть роль мечты. Роль того, к чему мы должны стремиться. Стремиться мы должны, как говорил Циолковский, покинуть колыбель человечества Землю и стремиться к звездам.
The project has attracted many people around the world. Today, the number of people wishing to acquire Asgardian citizenship is hundreds of thousands. Already there are almost 170,000 actual citizens of the nation. Our protagonist uses this exact term. We are sure that, like all of Igor Ashur Beyli's endeavors, the new project will be successful and long-lasting.
Это комплекс золотого медалиста. Вот как в школе привык, что четверка – это трагедия, и причем это не было чем-то, что заставляли родители. Но я считаю, что это комплекс, я считаю, что он вообще, может быть, наверное, неправильный. Но он у меня остался, к сожалению, до сих пор, что я, конечно же, должен быть лучше, я, конечно, должен быть первым. Я, конечно, должен быть отличник.
Please stand up and welcome the first head of nation of Asgardia, the first space nation in human history, Igor Ashur Beyli.
Вступая в должность главы нации космического королевства Асгардия, торжественно клянусь быть верным духу и букве Конституции Асгардии и являться гарантом ее соблюдения, охранять права и свободы асгардианцев, защищать суверенитет, целостность и независимость Асгардии, служить ее народу.